but not least is we are asked to graph another system of inequalities. However, the inequalities that are given to us are a little bit harder than the one that we just did in the previous problem, which was already written in slope-intercept form. So this is just a tiny little bit harder just because it's not written in slope-intercept form. So to graph this, I'm going to call this equation 1, and I'll call it, or inequality 1 and inequality 2. To graph inequality 1, we do the same thing where we write it in slope-intercept form. So again, slope-intercept form is y equals to mx plus b. Once you write it in this form, you will know how to graph your line. So here is 3y. I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides. I get 3y is less than 4x plus 6. I'm going to add 4x to both sides because this is a negative 4x. When I bring it to the other side, I add it. So I add 4x to both sides, so I get this. I'm going to divide everything by 3. So if I divide everything by 3 here, I'm going to get y is less than 4/3 x plus 6 divided by 3 is 2. So now this is in slope-intercept form, and I can graph this line. So here's the slope-intercept form. So here, the b represents 2, which is the y-intercept. So 2 is where it intercepts with the y-axis. Again, a review of your previous material in the previous chapter. 4/3 is the slope, so that means I go up 4 to the right 3. So I'm going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, to the right 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's because the slope represents the vertical distance over the horizontal distance. In other words, the rise over the run. And now I'm going to go ahead and graph this. I see it's just strictly less than. There's no underline, so I'm going to make this a dotted line. So making this a dotted line, it looks something like this. So there's my dotted line. And I'm going to ask myself, do I shade the top, or do I shade the top or the bottom, or the left or the right of the line? Well, I'm going to test a point. So here's my favorite test point, which is 0, 0. So I'm going to plug in 0, 0 in here, and I'm going to see if it's a true or false. So if I plug in 0, 0, 0 is less than 4/3 times 0 plus 2, and I'm going to ask myself, is this true or false? So 4/3 times 0 is just 0. 0 is less than 2. Is that true or false? That is true. So because that's true, that means 0, 0 is a solution to the first inequality. So I'm going to shade the side that 0, 0 is on. So that means everything on the bottom of this blue line is part of the solution to the first inequality. Now the second inequality, we're going to do the same thing. So I'm kind of running out of space here, so I'm going to go ahead and write this here. 5x plus 6y is greater than or equal to negative 12. I want to change this to slope-intercept form. I subtract 5x on both sides, so I get negative 5x minus 12. I divide everything by 6. I get y is greater than or equal to negative 5 over 6x minus 2. So now I know the y-intercept and I know the slope. So the y-intercept is at negative 2, so I plot negative 2 right here. Negative 5 over 6, I go down 5 because it's a negative, and I go to the right 6 because it's positive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's my second point, and that gives you the slope of the line. And I'm going to draw the line because it's greater than or equal to. That means I'm going to draw a solid line instead of a dotted line. So a solid line looks something like this. So I'm going to stretch out this line. And here's my red line. Now I ask myself, do I shade the top or the bottom? So again, I'm going to use a test point, my favorite test point, 0, 0. And I'm going to plug 0, 0 into this inequality, and I ask myself, true or false? So here, when I do that, I get 0 is greater than, this becomes 0, negative 2. Is 0 greater than negative 2? True or false? False. 0 is not greater than negative 2. This is false. So here is 0, 0. So I know that 0, 0 is not part of the solution. Here's my line. So everything above the line is not part of my solution. Everything below the line is part of my solution. So I'm going to shade that. Now the final answer is going to be where the red and the blue overlaps. So the red and the blue 0, I just made a mistake. I just made a big mistake. Is 0 greater than -2? Yes, that is true. I'm getting too tired right now. I'm so sorry. 0 is greater than -2. Yes. So actually, I was wrong here. So pretend that's not shaded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade everything above the line because 0, 0 is right there. So I'm going to shade everything above the line. So my mistake. I shade everything above the line. So if I had an eraser, I would erase this, right? And the final answer is where the blue and the red overlap. So where do they overlap? They overlap right here. So this is my final solution, right? And this is a dotted line here, and this was a solid line here. So everything in this shaded area is part of the solution. So they asked you to give us a point in the solution set. Pick any point on here and say it's part of the solution. You could say 0, 0. You could say anything here. So you could say here's a point here. You could pick any point on this side, this orange spot. So I put 10, 0. Could be any of these spots that are purple, and that will be part of the solution set.